I'll start. I'll take over.
Yes, please.
I think, Pradnya, please mute everyone's mic for now. If they have any technical issues, they can message, right?
Yes, so if anyone has any questions, you all can always put it into the chat box. We will answer to it. If there's any technical issue also that you all face in the meantime, you all can put it on the chat or unmute your mic and please inform us. Yeah, so we get going with our session. I would like to welcome Suhasini. So Suhasini has been a digital coach, expert, a brand ambassador for most of us. So Suhasini, you would like to take it from here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pradnya, for hosting this. Thanks to Blink Strategic Solutions for inviting me to speak about this. And a big thank you and a welcome to all the participants who are here this wonderful Saturday morning for us to all, make further progress with our journey and learning. And I'm Suhasini Kirloskar, and I have a company called Market Access Consulting. I work in B2B marketing strategy and services and training. I have clients in like the USA, Canada, the UAE, and India. I've been in this business for about 4.5 years, but altogether much longer than that. And I'm basically an MBA in marketing from NMIMS in Mumbai. So I'll start with today's session on how to create social media brand ambassadors. So I've been looking at social media and using social media from the very early days. If you remember, before LinkedIn became popular, there was something called Rise, RYZE, and I think that was the first one that really interested us and excited us. And I've been slowly using for a very long time. Okay, so I'll start today's session with a little bit of data. So start by asking, does social media matter? And there's a reason for asking this question, because even though it's 2020, there is still a digital divide. I'll give you all a minute just to read the slide. Okay, just for you to absorb the slide before we discuss it. So why do I say that there is still a digital divide? It's not that people don't have access to digital platforms. Probably in the kind of markets that all of you are operating, you have access to digital platforms. But some people sort of either have a low awareness or they choose to ignore the digital trends. And I'll tell you a funny backstory that, in old days of history, when, first we were marketing and doing business even without email, that way. But then after we had been using email in business for about 10 years, I went to make a presentation to a potential client, a prospect, and I suggested email marketing. And the prospective client came up with an objection. He said, email is not relevant. My wife still doesn't use email. Okay. That threw me off completely. Okay. So there's an equivalent even today. Even today, some people say, I'm not on Twitter, then Twitter doesn't matter. Or if I'm not on Instagram, Instagram doesn't matter. Okay. But because I'm wiser from that experience, my wife doesn't use email while I experience. That's why today I have brought the data to show you that social media does matter. So in this slide, if we look at the second and third numbers, these are the important points. This is January 2020 data about penetration of social media. It's the second and third numbers that we should be looking at. So out of a total world population of 7.75 billion, 3.8 billion or about 49% are on social media. So this is considering the total population of the world, which includes like children and people who live in forests and all that. So you can be sure that in your market segment, the penetration of social media is much higher. Also, the third number is very interesting. The growth is of social media penetration is at over 9% per year. So this is just for us to get a perspective of how important social media is today and how fast it's growing. Okay. So we all know that our brands are very important, and that's why you'll have chosen to join this webinar on a Saturday morning and devote your time to this webinar. And we've just seen in the previous slide that social media is also very important. And that's why branding activities on social media are actually strategic for your business. So the question is, who is the custodian of the brand on social media channels? Okay, that's what we'll just discuss right now. So the reason that I bring this up is because social media marketing is often considered to be the responsibility of the, like central or corporate marketing team, or there's a designated social media team. So on this slide, you're looking at the LinkedIn page of a company called Slack, which is the world's fastest growing business app. Okay. So as you see, this is a typical, corporate social media handle. It will have the right branding elements. It will be aligned to all the branding guidelines, and it will be always totally correct. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad to be correct or to be aligned to branding guidelines, but I'm only asking the question that is this corporate handle the best face for your brand on social media? That's just my question, and we'll look at some other approaches. So on this slide, you are now looking at another face of Slack. And this is the founder, Stuart Butterfield. Now the post that you see here is actually probably not very correct. Okay. So I'll tell you what's happening here. There's a news item that Microsoft Teams has gone down just when the whole world has to move to work from home because of the coronavirus crisis. So a Slack user, that's Connor Anderson, has shared this news, and he said, "I'm glad that we made the right choice by going for Slack." And he's also said, this news is because he has tagged Slack. So Stuart Butterfield has come across this post by Connor Anderson. And so he has shared Connor Anderson's post, and he has repeated the line that he has used, which is, "You get what you pay for," which is actually quite a snide swipe at Microsoft Teams. Okay? The post has generated 106 engagements. You can see at the bottom 106 hearts. Now, this one post, like I said, it's probably not very correct. It is, kind of taking a swipe at a competitor. But there are so many things that this post conveys. It conveys that Slack is a game changer. It conveys that it's challenging, the David and Goliath. So Goliath is Microsoft Teams, a much larger, older company. And it also conveys that Slack is much better equipped or geared up to handle the new work from home culture. Okay? So this is just an example of another brand way that the brand can be, can communicate on social media through an individual. When a person communicates something, it tends to have more flavor. There's nothing more powerful in the world than the connection between one person and another. When we read a Facebook post or a tweet, we instinctively know when an individual is communicating from the heart. And somehow that elicits a different response from us than if it's just from marketing machinery. I remember some years ago, on Twitter, that time Shah Rukh Khan used to be quite active. Later on, he kind of dropped off Twitter. He said he can't handle the abuse and so on. But he has insomnia. He hardly sleeps at night, and he's also an extremely witty person. He has a very good sense of humor and wit. And the tweets that would come out from him at some bizarre time, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., somehow they showed a side of him, a face of him. He's after all an artist, so he's expected to be a little, not be able to sleep and come up with funny stuff and be a little quirky, eccentric, and so on. But the point is that there was no way an official, like a PR team, would have come up with those tweets. When you read those tweets, you just knew that you were reading something from him. Okay, so we intuitively, instinctively know these things. So that is the power of the person-to-person connection. So are brands leveraging this power of this personal and from the heart communication? Now there is some data available at least for the world's largest companies. So as you see on this slide, and this is a study done by influential executive in 2019 on the world, 54% of Fortune 500 CEOs have at least some social media presence. That could mean anything. Okay, the real engaged presence may be much lower. So what do 46% have? So I would say they have just missed opportunity. Okay? If it's not the CEO, some other role, what does head of engineering, what's the same percentage? What is the percentage of, say, head of product development? Maybe lower. What about chief financial officers, CFOs? Definitely lower. Maybe chief marketing officers, maybe a little higher, hopefully. What happens if we look at smaller companies where data is not available? Are they doing any better? Now, the data may be different in your industry, but across the board, there's still a huge potential to increase your brand presence and amplify your brand messages by drawing on the power of individuals communicating on social media. Create more brand ambassadors, hopefully starting from the CEO, other business leaders, managers, possibly all colleagues. Now, here is some research that shows the tangible benefits of social CEOs like Stuart Butterfield or Anand Mahindra: higher employee engagement, better sales, and the ability to attract talent. So, what can brand ambassadors do? Okay. One of the things that they can do is they can create an interesting buzz around the brand. Now, here we see Satya Nadella talking about a huge investment that they are planning, Microsoft is planning into Italy. It's interesting, particularly to hear from people about new technologies which are being researched, new products that are in development. There's a difference in flavor. When this is announced by the company's social channel, it has to be very specific, very factual. Possibly it can be shared only after it is completed. But an individual can give us a sense of getting a sneak peek behind the scenes, which makes it more interesting. Those of you who are working in listed companies, I need to caution, you will need to comply with stock exchange disclosure regulations. So please check on that before you plan anything along these lines. So you'll be already aware of those things. But this is the first part that brand ambassadors can do very effectively, which is just creating a very interesting buzz around the brand. Then brand ambassadors become proof of the values and personality of the brand. Okay, so on this slide, what's happening? We again are looking at somebody who's very prolific on Twitter. You see, he has 20,000 tweets. You can see on the top corner, Anand Mahindra. Now, the person that he has tagged over here, if you see the lower part of the slide, you can see the tweet that he's tweeted. Thank you at Rajesh664. So that Twitter handle, Rajesh664, is Rajesh Jejurikar, who is actually Mr. Mahindra's own colleague. So Mr. Mahindra could have given this message or conveyed this message by an email or a WhatsApp message. So why does he choose to tweet it? Simply because he is smarter than most people. He knows his role as a leader in the public eye and the ambassador of the Mahindra brand. This tweet gives us a feel of the efforts that the group is taking to solve the problem of migrant labor during the COVID-19 crisis. it sort of tells us that a work is in progress. It tells us that they're communicating and trying to find a way. So this is quite different from the way an official press release or something would have announced. You know, that it would have said we help to transport so many people. Clinical factual. So if you say that your brand is about caring, then the brand ambassador makes it real. Yeah. Now we come to how brand ambassadors help demonstrate thought leadership. So someone has tweeted a memory to Elon Musk about something which happened in 2015. And then again in the lower part of the slide, you see Elon Musk's response to that. And as you know, he's the creator of Tesla cars. He's the person behind the SpaceX private space program and many other innovations. So many brands aspire to be thought leaders in their field. It's nice to have, professionally produced white papers, research reports, but there's a special value in a social media post that demonstrates the ideas or goals that a leader is pursuing passionately. So, in my mind, this tweet by Elon Musk about what needs to happen before we can have cities on Mars. Now, this demonstrates thought leadership to me better than most publications that I have read. So, when we look at these examples, Anand Mahindra and Elon Musk or Satya Nadella, remember that these are probably among the busiest people in the world. They are among the most successful, richest. Elon Musk, not only does he have multiple companies, but he has a baby who's only a few days old. But they tweet because they know the value of food. And others who don't probably don't realize that. Moving on, one more thing that can be done very effectively is crisis management. So business leaders can manage crisis by using social media very effectively. And here's an example from the Facebook page of Richard Branson. So Richard Branson is a flamboyant user of social media. It's really interesting and entertaining to see his tweets and posts. He shares interesting aspects of his regular work, his teams, plus his work for the oceans and the environment, his adventure sports. There's always something exciting going on. But with the coronavirus crisis and the huge impact on the airline industry, there were a lot of negative rumors about the Virgin Group. So here he has shared an open letter to settle those rumors. I have deliberately taken this screenshot from Facebook because there are some people who feel that Facebook is not appropriate for business. But if your target audience is there, then you should be there too. So, great example of addressing a crisis head on by using social media effectively. One thing I don't understand is why is Bill Gates not using social media to address all the conspiracy rumors right now. The many videos which are floating around claiming he's actually like created the coronavirus or plans to wipe out humanity or whatever. I think some crisis management from his side would be good. So we saw that some of the most successful and busiest people in the world make the time and effort to post on social media, not just once in a while. In fact, they are prolific. And although we saw celebrity examples, there are many other regular working people who are helping to build the brands that they represent by leveraging channels like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on. So if your colleagues are not, then what's holding them back? Now, the main reason is that they aren't aware of what they can achieve. So we saw that business leaders who are active on social media help to increase sales, employee engagement, and attract talent. So who would not want this? That's why I really believe it's lack of awareness mainly. managers and executives don't focus on this simply because they don't want to. They don't make time for this, and so they say that they don't have time. Today, you've seen the power of brand ambassadors on social media. Feel free to use my slides to convince your colleagues. If just a few of your colleagues use social media effectively, it will bring you amazing returns in brand awareness growth, enhancing the perception of your brand, building new contacts, and even closing deals. And there's also one more hindrance which I've written at the bottom. That's a certain take them back. We need to design a program. Okay. So we need to design a systematic program, and let's look at what that entails. So first start by speaking to a few colleagues. You can encourage those who are natural communicators. Don't try to force someone who's not comfortable with the idea. It would be really lovely if you had your CEO who says, okay, coach me, help me, make me a brand ambassador. Uh, and if that happens, that's fine. You can facilitate that. But otherwise, try to see the potential in all other colleagues as well. So someone who's doing field sales can actually share interesting anecdotes, experiences, or photographs of users from the field. A colleague from customer support could use social media to directly address like common questions or concerns. So try and see the potential, that everyone has to communicate and amplify your brand messages, and start your program, roll it out to the few colleagues, and let the number grow in a kind of a natural manner. Next, we come to the crux of your brand ambassador program. You need to communicate your brand's vision, mission, and values to all these potential brand ambassadors. Maybe sit down, have a brainstorming session, have a good in-depth, workshop kind of session. Uh, Share your brand voice with them. Think about your brand voice. What is it? Is it defined, written down, or you do need to write it down? And then show them how to use it with some examples and illustrations. Because only when all representatives of your brand are aligned and speaking in the similar brand voice, will there be a positive impact. For example, if you say that your brand is to be helpful and a courteous advisor to your customers, then this needs to be translated. So queries on social media need to be answered with a lot of patience and courtesy. You also need to protect your brand from any unpleasantness or even any legal risks and so on. So, is there a social media usage guideline in place for the organization, or maybe you need to draft one? You need to tell people that you have no tolerance for abuse or things like that, because we've been seeing more and more companies being caught unaware. They're not aware that some users are indulging in these kind of online abusive behaviors, and then they get pulled up by the law. Yeah, it does become difficult. I think the latest case
Hello.
just everyone's mic.
Hello. Ah.
Somebody's mic needs to be muted. Okay. So communicate that you have zero tolerance and make sure people are aligned to the brand voice and let them become familiar with that brand voice and let them know, the calendar that we are going to be coming up with these programs. So create that alignment within the team of social media brand ambassadors. Okay. Then we come to another very important thing. Now, I always feel a little sad when I see corporate marketing teams put in a lot of effort to create social media content, and yet all other team members throughout the organization, we just seem to ignore that content. I mean, they don't engage at all. Some of them don't follow the social media channels, the corporate social media channels. Some do follow them, but they don't, share the content from there, like it, share it, and so on. Now, the networks of our colleagues on different social channels can be very relevant for our brand messaging. For example, a business development manager is likely to have LinkedIn connections with current prospects, customers, maybe former customers, and all those people are they may not be following your company's LinkedIn page. So if the company's LinkedIn page, the corporate LinkedIn page, publishes a lovely post, a recent achievement of the company, it will get very relevant to viewership if the business development manager shares it. So when you create your brand ambassador program, try to sensitize your colleagues about the importance of sharing this content, which is published by the central social media team. And ask the social media managers also to follow your different brand ambassadors. In this way, the messages are amplified further. And finally, teach them relevant skills. So help your colleagues with practical aspects. How to use hashtags, how to tag colleagues, how to tag the company social handles, how to connect with influencers in the industry, how to use images, video, and allow the ideas to flow creatively, encourage contributions, and then slowly start rolling out the program. Meet with people regularly, touch base, ideate, brainstorm, refine the program as it goes along, what's working, what's not working. And I think that this will lead to excellent results, amplification of your brand message, uh, creation of new audiences, because as I said, those individuals have their own networks. Even your colleagues, like even in a software company or developers, their friends generally tend to be the larger talent pool. So when you want to reach out to talent, you want to brand yourself as a great place to work, then the messages which your colleagues or the developers have been sharing, those are very valuable. So this is just a bare outline of how you can put the social media brand ambassadors program in place. And Pradnya, we'll open it for questions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Suhasini, for taking us through this brand ambassador program. And I would like people, if anyone wants to unmute their mic and video, they can directly ask question to Suhasini, or else you all can always put in your question into the chat box. So we are open for the questions or maybe discussions.
Hi, Suhasini, this is Ashwin here. Ashwin Mega.
Hi, Ashwin.
Hi. Sorry, I'm not on video. But a quick question on this that, okay, where there's so many channels, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, is there a preference for corporate entity to project themselves? Is there a preference in terms of B2B, B2C, or individual branding? What's your view?
Yeah. So the most powerful ones do tend to be LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, so a lot of businesses, B2B, LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn is great on the business side for customers. And how can you use LinkedIn? So there are 3 or 4 important ways to use LinkedIn. So one is that, again, this is something that you can teach more people across the company. So when we create social media brand ambassadors, we can also teach them, if they have to use LinkedIn, how they should use LinkedIn. So there are 3 or 4 ways. So one is that encourage people to send networking requests, connection requests to relevant contacts. So if you've had a meeting with somebody, follow it up with a LinkedIn connection request. If you attended a trade show, and collected 50 visit cards, do send all of them LinkedIn connection requests. So as you train your social media brand ambassadors to do this, their networks of relevant connections will grow. The second thing that you can do is LinkedIn email, which you can send to your first level connections. It's like an email, it lands up directly in the person's inbox. And you can also do this by paying LinkedIn. You can use sponsored email to a specific target audience. So if you don't know, like if you want to reach out to 50, vice president product development in say Germany, then at the moment they may not be your contacts, but using LinkedIn sponsored email, you can reach out to them. The third thing that you can do, which is very relevant to the brand ambassadors program, is to post good updates, like good posts. So you can ideate, and that's what we discussed. Ideate and share, and what that post should be. Sharing the company's achievements, sharing good case studies, even if the company is recruiting, if the company is recruiting and many people share that message, what's the message that goes out? It's not just that there are opportunities, it's also that the company is growing, they're recruiting. So those are also positive messages. So those kind of posts can be shared. And you can also use LinkedIn search. So with LinkedIn search, you can find opportunities and target prospects both. So that is LinkedIn is relevant for B2B. Facebook is also relevant for B2B and B2C. It works really well, even for some B2B businesses. We found it works very well in learning and development. Even for things like high-end personal development, executive coaching, those kind of programs. Of course, for B2C, on Facebook, it's extremely powerful. There are brands which have been built completely on Facebook. There's a brand called Jaipur. I think it's spelled Jeypore. It's a premium garments brand, but I've never seen a store. I've only seen it on purchased it from Facebook. And there are many others which are brands that are like born on Facebook. It's also very good for many other businesses like primary schooling, books, and so on. For even for B2B businesses, many of the IT companies, they use LinkedIn for their customer side, business side, but they use Facebook for their talent side. They like to have their talent, so they will have a company page on Facebook where they share their updates about company events, picnics. Because again, when your colleagues share that, their friends are seeing it, and their friends who are currently working in other companies are they are getting the message about what kind of company yours is to work on. Instagram is particularly powerful for any company or any business where the visual element is important. Instagram is all about photos, pictures, beautiful pictures. So if you are in architecture, even hotels, resorts, if you are of course in fashion, makeup, food, those businesses where the visual element is very important, they do really well on Instagram. But Instagram could be used even by a B2B business. Say, if there's an executive who travels a lot, for example, he could make interesting Instagram stories, just landed at this airport, visiting this office, meeting so and so. Those experiences, because that also tells stories about the company and the brand. Twitter is good if your target audience is there. So yes, it is still very much used. Like journalists tend to be on Twitter, which is probably one of the values that Anand Mahindra gets there. A lot of young Indians are on Twitter, so that's probably one more reason why he's there. He gets a lot of following and viewers over there. And the Silicon Valley does tend to be active on Twitter, so if that's your audience, you should be there. Now, with Twitter, why is somebody like Donald Trump using it or Anand Mahindra using it? It's one reason is that because it's sort of, you don't have to tell your story to a journalist and hope that they will interpret it and create a story. And in the old days, we used to like journalists had their own like, we want to create a story with this angle, and so this is direct. You directly communicate to your audience. So if that's of value, then Twitter is good. So I've covered the major channels.
Yeah, thanks, Suhasini. That had been a very comprehensive answer. Just to add, like probably we may not, correct me if I'm wrong, but like we may not like to be there on every platform. We need to first research our audience, where they are, and then concentrate our efforts on that particular media, right? So we have,
Absolutely.
yeah. So Suhasini, we have a question from Sandhya here. How does a startup plan social media presence?
Yeah, so social media actually works great for startups because there is no size constraint. You can actually be very big with ideas. You can be big with imagination. You can be big with creativity. You can win on those things, and uh, in that sense, you can actually gain tremendous competitive advantage. So there's nothing holding you back. So just ideate, think, consider. No one is saying that you can't tweet this unless you employ 10,000 people. And maybe somebody who does employ 10,000 people is tweeting something, but you can tweet something more imaginative than them. Okay, so it all depends on what your startup idea is. But like if it's a new concept, and if you are, you could start with just talking about the problem that you're solving, more discussion around that problem, creating awareness among people that they have that problem, or just getting that thought process started.
Yeah. So
Never
can I just add, add here?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
what is it?
Suhasini, I'm Sandhya here. My startup is about crochet and knitted items, and I get orders for all handmade crochet things, and I provide them. So
Okay.
my
Are you on
main aim.
Instagram?
Hello?
Are you on Instagram?
Yes, I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, those are probably good channels for you. So
Yeah.
do share the beauty of your designs.
Yes.
Yeah, but put a little story behind them also.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because the best ones have a little story as well. So
Okay.
never make it about the product. Okay, so there are two or three things. One is that you can either focus more on the person who wears it. I'm just giving an example. Suppose you say you crochet a skirt. I don't know if you do, but I'm just saying that. So then, if it's about if you crochet skirts, then it should really be about the person who wears those skirts. So you could have a series of posts that the kind of people who wear crochet skirts, that could be interesting. So if you are this interesting person, you wear a crochet skirt. So don't make your posts very product focused. The product should come once, but the story has to come. So, like I gave you an example. Suppose it's about a crochet top or a crochet skirt. So, what is the kind of woman who wears a crochet top? So, there is a series of posts about that woman, and she's a very interesting woman. So, more women feel, oh my God, I want to be that kind of woman. And then there is a post about the product, or otherwise it's about more like the story behind the product. Like I learned crochet from my grandmother. My first did my crochet stitch when I was 5 years old because I was at my grandmother's. And these are arts which are not there anymore. Or my grandmother is 80 and she still does crochet. So those are stories. So don't make the post only product focused.
Yeah, thanks, Suhasini.
Swasni,
Yes.
yeah, Swasni, hi, Smith here. I have a question. If you are okay, I can go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for sharing the presentation and your thoughts on this particular aspect of brand visibility and engaging more and more people within the organization for a better reach and increasing the mind share. So my question is, while you give very, very relevant
Good morning.
examples and concepts around the brand visibility, while you talked about brand personality, thought leadership, crisis management, and all, which could be managed with very specific examples like Anand Mahindra or Elon's Tesla's example, or Richard Branson for that matter. So very interesting examples. But my question to you is that, while we talk about gaining the mind share in the targeted audience, typically for a B2B kind of a business environment, where you have a specific set of audience who you would rightfully connect and convey the messaging in a very objective way, which is very clear and in a very inspiring way. Now it happens, when you say create more and more brand ambassadors within the organization, the challenge remains that how people at different levels would have the different the level of followership uh, and the engagement levels going up, because the kind of engagement, the kind of responses that would happen for the people, the examples that you quoted, Elon, Richard, or for that matter, Mr. Mahindra, the engagement levels are so high because of the fact the followerships is too high. But when you get down to the people who may not be really so prominent as far as their connect in the social media goes, so how do you really suggest that this goes up? While you talked about certain skills, but my question is, how do you really get that kind of an engagement from the people down the line, and then the mind share keeps growing with the target audience that you are trying to portray?
Right. So if you're in B2B, then on LinkedIn, the few good practices, like I said, anybody who you've met, if you've attended a trade show, then do follow it up with a LinkedIn connection request. That's a simple thing. The person has met you, likely to accept. If you want to send a connection request to somebody you don't know, the people in the West, they tend to be a little I won't say shy, but some of them have a policy that they don't accept connection requests from people that they don't know. Some of them are open networkers. So I'm an open networker. I accept connection requests from people I don't know as well. And I changed that policy some years ago. So some are open networkers, some are closed networkers. So the thing is that when you send a connection request to somebody, you get a chance to write a message. Write a meaningful message. Okay, write a meaningful message saying, please accept this connection request because I would like to maybe collaborate, or put something of value there, and something which is not just like the person should feel it's not relevant. So you can write a kind of a meaningful message there, and don't feel bad. Some people will not accept. It's okay, but do send those connection requests. And then when you post your post, you add the relevant hashtags. So if you are regularly posting about something, whatever it is, say autonomous vehicles, and you always using the hashtag autonomous vehicles, then people start seeing you as a voice in that space. So maybe they will actually send you a connection request. So that's the thing. So I have become a open networker like in 6-7 years ago. I have 12,000 contacts on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is my largest source of leads for my business growth. I was looking at the sales we closed in the last year. 1 or 2 came because we are NASSCOM members. We came from NASSCOM, but the lion's share of our work, and even internationally, it's enabled us to grow. That has been through LinkedIn. So the number grew that much because I went in for becoming an open networker. Also on LinkedIn, women have it a little easier. I realized that because in one of my clients, I was managing the CEO's account. I logged in as a CEO, and then I would send connection requests. I realized that women have it a little easier on LinkedIn. Our connection requests get accepted easier. That's the reality.
And
Thanks.
also,
I got the message. I need to develop more women, brand ambassadors within my company. Thank you.
Yeah.
so it's all about reinventing and trying to give something new, joining the conversation as well, right? So Hasini, when we are on social media, it's not only about products
Yes.
that you said last time to Sandhya, but it's humanizing the content.
Yeah, I mean, you need to, it's like a person, right? Would you like to meet somebody for a coffee? If the person, you met them 10 times for a coffee, every time they came for a coffee, poke you and say, hey, listen, buy my product. You're my friend, you buy this product. And you say, yeah, maybe. Then next time he meets you again, he says, oh, buy my product. You're not going to meet that person for coffee third time, right? So you want to meet the person, say, hey, hi, how are you? This interesting thing is happening in the world, and you're going to exchange something meaningful. And then, yeah, maybe when you're looking for the product, you will like pick up the phone and call that person. So it's the same.
I think that's a very valid point, Swasini. I think people are the brand. Brand is nothing but the people. So that's where the social media really gets the attention for the people, not really for the brand. Brand is a mind share which eventually through that journey takes that particular position. But basically, people
So
are the
actually,
brand, what I
the
feel.
brand people, the branding people have made brand into a very big abstract concept, and they've done that, and that helps branding people, branding projects. Like you can get like crores of rupees to rebrand something. So it's really nice to like mystify it and make it very abstract and very complex. But yeah, a brand is about people, and nothing conveys the brand as strongly as what the people do. That is the strongest communication. Uh, it could be very vanilla. It could be very contradictory. Like when you hear somebody like a oil company saying that, oh, we really care about the environment. You may be saying it on their website, but you're not convinced because their industry is like that, right? So there are many examples. Authenticity finally shows through, and you have to be uh, you have to be what you are. But when individuals communicate, it may not be perfect, but that authenticity is there. It's at least slightly more. So as long as you're not like doing something really wrong, you can be a little real, which was the example I gave of Slack. Like it didn't cause a huge outrage that this man is so rude. You don't want that. But he's ruffled the feathers a little bit. So yeah, but yes, brands are people.
Yeah, we can take up a couple of questions more, maybe.
I'm really enjoying the questions.
Yeah. So Suhasini, still like it's all about socializing. Even if we are doing maintaining social distance, still we are socializing. Yeah.
In
So we have,
fact,
yeah,
the world is coming closer.
yes.
Suhasini, Apurva. Hello.
And,
Yeah, one question is that how many of the successful accounts that we see are actually managed by the people themselves and not managed by a team or professionals that they have hired? Like, do you think Anand Mahindra writes his own messages or Elon Musk writes his own messages, or do you think they have a team of people who are
yeah,
actually
it's
working
very
for them?
easy to tell. Very easy to tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
For
ab-
example, I think Obama's most of his tweets were done by a team, and
Okay.
I think Donald Trump's tweets are done by him.
Right.
He could tweet what Donald Trump tweets.
Okay.
Anand Mahindra recently tweeted that I'm attending a lot of Zoom meetings wearing a tie and a lungi.
Yeah.
Which PR agency is going to have the guts to tweet that on behalf of Anand?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we do look at those accounts as well. Like maybe you might decide to follow Microsoft official channel. There's a Mahindra official channel, obviously. You may decide to follow them, but at the heart of hearts, you will always know. We always know this.
Oh.
People are very intuitive. People are very sensitive. I gave you the example of Shah Rukh Khan. When I read that
Yes.
tweet from Shah Rukh Khan at 3 in the morning, something which was witty, which was a little naughty, I said no PR agency in the world can have the guts to tweet this on his behalf at this time. So you can always tell.
Right.
So there'll be official channels and really today's presentation really is about more people who are real, but at the same time who really want to build the brand, build the business, and so they are carrying forward that message in a very real way.
So,
So I
do
give
the
you an
business,
example. If a
do the
salesperson of the product, like say maybe pumps or diesel gen sets or tractors, if he is going the length and breadth of India, he has some amazing experiences. So if we actually as marketing people, if we show them that, hey, listen, this is what you can do on social media, there's probably some magic to be made there. He doesn't have to be Anand Mehta.
Suhasini, hi, this is Jane. We have a garment factory. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. So we have a garment factory, and I was wondering whether posts like employee of the month, or we have like star awards, those kind of things are good posts to be putting in onto Instagram and all that.
Yes, they are. So the question is that, like, when you do employee-related posts, it tells me that you care for people, which is good. So it's a corporate, it's a corporate brand. It's of course very helpful for the larger talent pool. So Facebook is good because the person who won the award is going to share it on Facebook. And so his friends, her friends are going to see it, whom you might want to recruit to buy. So that there it's good. Instagram, yes, it's good. And even for people who are planning to buy your garments, a little bit of knowing who makes them is not bad. Because at least I know they're not coming from China, for example.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Thanks.
So maybe not too much, but yeah, some. But there could be stories, which is what I told Satya as well. There could be interesting stories. Garment from the design to the manufacturing, how it's made with so much love, how it's made with local material, local people, how it's made with whatever. I mean, whatever your story is.
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram are definitely relevant.
Suhasini, do the B schools actually train people that you have to now work with social media? I mean, I can see that the way forward is through social media, digital. So, do B schools actually train people in marketing that this is important? Is it a part of the curriculum?
Yeah, it is now a part of the curriculum, and some of them have digital marketing. Like they all have it as a subject, and some of them have it as a specialization. So yeah, I think the next generation is quite savvy. Yes. So I'm on the advisory board of Mitcon Institute of Management. We help to draft up the digital marketing super specialization because the UGC requires industry people to contribute to that. So I was on that panel. And I also have some interns from there working with my company. So I think the awareness is there, and plus this is a generation which is like for them it's like fish to water, right? You don't have to tell them about Facebook, Instagram. Instagram actually it's a pain when you're with the younger generation because if you go to a restaurant they won't let you eat. They'll say first we have to install the food.
Right.
Yeah, I know young men who are complaining that dates are boring because the girls are more interested in nice photos on Instagram than in us. So they are actually very strong on that. So one way to do this is actually have more young people in your program.
Right.
So, Suhasini, I had a question. I'm Bindu Sheth speaking. I was wondering whether Instagram is better. We are a manufacturing company again. And whether Instagram is better for us or LinkedIn is better for us.
What is your product?
We manufacture sweaters, knitwear.
Instagram definitely first, okay, because the sweater is probably good looking, right?
Yes.
So anything which is related to garments is all about the visual, and that's why Instagram should be the first. On Instagram also you need to make the brand interesting. So again, it's not just about the sweater. If you want to do a very technical post like this sweater, so many whatever threads per inch or I don't know, whatever it is, that has to be interspersed with a lot of story related, like more about the wearer, what kind of people wear this sweater, why this particular sweater, how are the designs created. So a lot of that, not product focus. Product focus should be a smaller proportion to the story. LinkedIn is relevant for you if you're planning to do something like hire dealers, distributors, corporate buyers, merchandisers. Then you can connect with them on LinkedIn. And you can actually share some of the visual posts on LinkedIn as well. But Instagram should be your...
But LinkedIn, should it be managed by the director or the owner, or should it be managed by a junior?
So it can be managed by a social media person. But if you're director, owner, or even yourself, if you are active on LinkedIn, then you get a very different kind of impact. Because see, the thing is, first of all, if you send a connection request, maybe you're somebody I met somewhere, at a conference or something. I see your face, maybe I see your educational background. I connect with you. I feel like I want to connect with you. So you already have some connections. You already have friends, former colleagues, former employees, whatever. So when you take the brand message forward, it will have far more impact. So you and the junior should work hand in hand.
Okay. So does it have to have separate accounts, or is it going to be just one account managed by two?
You could have a company LinkedIn page, and you could also use your personal LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Because if it's your own company, what is your personal LinkedIn profile for? It's for your company, it's for your business. So you will leverage that to the maximum.
So asking one technical question that I have now, before COVID and post COVID, I wanted to understand from you, since you're also doing a lot of digital marketing activities, just wanted to take your understanding on how COVID-19 has affected the engagement of the post. Or, in other words, is there any change in terms of the best times for the engagement? What I have understood from the research that I've done on digital marketing platforms like Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn, there are different specific days and specific time slots where you see the best of the engagement. Has it changed because now everyone is actually virtually connected and trying to spend more time on social media? Is there any change to that post COVID?
So I would say that the time spent by people on social media has gone up a lot. I've not seen the data, but I'm speaking from anecdotal. People are not driving 2 hours every day. They're not spending 2 hours in a local train or in a metro. They are on their screens all the time. They are also looking for opportunities, or they're looking for learning and so on, like what we're doing right now. Screen time has increased a lot, other than the time that you have to fight with your children because they have to do their homework. But yeah, on the same screen. But yeah, overall time spent on all social channels has increased a lot. I think the engagement of posts has increased a lot. On Facebook, like crazy stuff has been happening, movies and sari challenge. And oh my god, so much, so much, so much, so much, so much, because people have a lot of time on Facebook. Whether the best time of day has changed, I think the weekends have probably become, there's no weekend anymore. It's all the same. So we are working on Saturday, we are working on Sunday, but I've not seen data. I've not yet seen any published data that the best time to post has changed. So I don't know yet.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, so we are almost, it's 12:01 now. I think if there are no questions, or in case there are any question, you can always email us. What we'll be doing is we'll be sharing.
So this email given on this slide is the big email. And as far as I'm concerned, you can just send me a connection request on LinkedIn. I think all participants are probably present on LinkedIn. So that's the easiest way to reach out to me. Connect with me and you can send me a message on LinkedIn.
Yes, and post this webinar, we'll be sharing one link with you all regarding your, how are you going digital, and, what are your objectives of digital. So maybe that will also help us in understanding how companies are planning. So we'll be sharing a small survey with you all. So please do answer that. And we will be coming up with
We
more.
can also help you put this whole program in place.
Yes, we have curated some workshops for corporates, which we are also delivering on creating brand ambassadors, create LinkedIn for sales and marketing,
Yes.
right? Then digital transformation program. So there are many
Social media
programs.
for CXOs.
Yes, Suhasini?
We've done social media for CXOs also.
Yes, we have done social media for CXOs. So many programs have been curated, many programs have been customized pertaining to digital. And that's what, looks pretty winning. Digital looks pretty winning going forward. So we will be quickly sharing a link. So please do participate in it. That will help us connect with you all more often. And we were planning more digital webinars with Suhasini and me. So that's how we'll be being connected with you. So I hope the questions are done, like, and we already crossed the time. So Suhasini, thanks a lot for your time.
Though
And
people don't know the difference between Saturday and weekdays and weekends anymore, I'll just remind you all it's Saturday. So please have your beer now and enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's 1.5 days weekend.
yeah, and thank you for being with us on Saturday.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pradnya.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Suhasini, I think you can log out. We will connect. I'll close this.